Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the contents in this channel. I'd like to start by wishing everyone a happy Easter and happy Ramadan, and I hope everyone is doing well. To start with, I really have to apologize. I have been down with the flu because of the weather changes. So I was thinking of actually taking a break from this case for a while. That's the reason I put in clips instead of talking. But I haven't done that for a while, and I believe it is really important because today I'd like to clear up, although it's not my case to be doing that, and I believe it's Lancashire police to be doing that in the case of Nicola Boulay. I believe as YouTube creators, we should be doing a teamwork and thinking of what is right for all these cases because we're here to spread awareness, nothing else. Honestly, the reason I opened this channel, I've said that in almost every clip of mine, is I really don't care to be monetized or not. Just that you'll know. I'm so happy that I've got so many subscribers. Or my channel was a little unblessed, but now people are recognizing my hard work, hopefully. The thing is, I like to start even by thanking Super Chuffer. I love his work. He puts a lot of humor into his sense of work, and he's very creative. I need to thank him personally because he's given me shout outs, and I've hardly got shout out from his channels. I'm no thanks investigate. I owe him thanks to because he was the first person who did actually help me on this channel. I know these matters are private, but it's important to give people their credit. So thank you, Doug, and thank you, Super Truffle. Thank you, Emma, Crime Obsessed. I love you, Emma, you know that. And I love my subscribers. Most of them, especially the ones who've been in my channel the longest. We feel like we are a family where we discuss about mental health and crime to spread awareness. Cases that are being most occupied and focused on, that I was very motivated, was the California City Boys. Most of us are aware of how unfortunately it ended, with two little toddlers losing their life in heartless people's hands. That is another case for another day because that has a lot to do with CPS, because these were adopted children and they had foster children too. So after the case of Trezell, I believe I must have spent months and months researching Trezell, Jacqueline's family from San Jose, Trezel's family from Bakersfield, and Trezel's past from Sacramento. So I was quite active in that case, and that is what drew me to opening my own platform to spread awareness. Then, unfortunately, there were many other sad cases like Cash Gernin and Monica Sherrod and Darlene Brown, the 18-year-old boy who had schizophrenia, was who was obviously using drugs, serious drugs and all, and that led him to have a psychosis episode. I remember that case, there was a lot of discussion about, many people were saying that he was pretending. And I knew from the start I really hate to say that, it takes a really insane person to do something so terrific. I don't mean insane as just like in a diagnosis of being insane, but he was just ruthless. But most of it, he couldn't control himself. So that is why, as parents, it's important that if we have children who are suffering of mental health, which has become extreme everywhere in the world now, with so many cases, and it's so unfortunate, it's because of the society it's it's because of many different things. It can be genetic too. It is unfortunate that many of us sit and discuss. It's like me sitting and accusing someone of doing something when that is not my branch. That's the branch of law and enforcement. But what I have been doing in this case is, since I'm down with the flu, I'm getting better, but I've been really down with the flu. My main focus was to put up things. So I was making small clips of actually trying to see the different people's interview and what did not make sense. One thing I noticed in Nicola Bulley's case, rest in peace, Nicola, we are here to serve justice for you and for all the other victims. That is the reason I never gave up on Nicholas Bulley's case. Before I get to Nicola Bulley's case, the other case that most of my subscribers follow, and I think I got a lot of subscribers in my channel because of the Nicola Bulley case, and I started getting more subscribers. The subscribers who have been with me, honestly, we have been working a lot on the Summer Wells' case. I have that in common with most of the YouTube creators and most of the YouTube subscribers, viewers, and I really believe that we should never give up on Summer Moon Yuta Wells. Say her name. She's got a beautiful name, Summer Moon Yuta Wells. Summer was a 5-year-old girl when she was reported missing in Hawkins County, Tennessee. The timeline was so confusing. There's 3.5 hours gap between the timeline up to today. So that is very unfortunate, but we all are aware of the case of Summer Wells. Like the 911, the radio operator said in Tennessee, Hawkins, Tennessee, you could hear them clearly saying, the woman said, the mother called in, no, somebody called in and said that Summer was missing, and they even gave the description of Summer being 4 years old instead of 5 years old. There was many things that was wrong in that case, and there were many people who were involved in that case up to today. But we will always fight for Summer Moon Yuta Wells. Coming back to the case of Nicola Bulley. Like you're aware of, but just in case you're new to this case, Nicola Bulley was reported missing on the 27th of January. When Nicola was reported missing, it took time for whoever found the dog, tied up the dog, put the mobile device on the bench, because let's not forget, clearly law enforcement said the mobile moved to the bench. Mobile device doesn't have legs. It won't just move unless somebody makes it move. So that is very interesting. Who was the person who found the mobile phone? I personally believe it was Penny and the people from the caravan, because there were many of them, and that is not only speculation. That is not speculation. So, sorry guys, my cat. That is not my speculation, that there is something there, because we know that Penny, her sister-in-law, and her brother-in-law, the old man Ron, were all at the crime scene. I'll call it the crime scene, if it isn't the fake crime scene. Sorry, I apologize about my cat. He loves to come into my clips. So, sorry, coming back to this case, there's been a lot of speculation, I agree, including myself. Because when you're left with little facts and so much red flags, obviously speculation will come. But I believe if law enforcement said from the start everything and did not come out with different, sorry guys, law enforcement, if law enforcement came out with the facts from the start, and I mean the whole facts, and if they had more hypotheses instead of sticking to one that Nicola fell in the water, I would have gone along with that. But unfortunately, this case has brought attention not only from UK where I live, but the entire world. And that is very good. That is important because then the case doesn't die out. Many of us agreed from the start, after watching Peter Folding, the specialist in sauna training, who's worked in many cases, and after we've seen that Lancashire divers, fire brigade, and many other helpers actually, within a couple of hours, started diving and searching for Nicola Bulley. It's just like Peter Folding said, and that is common sense. When a body falls into water, and if the water is basically the tide is low, the body will eventually, if the body hits a rock or something, it'll sink in for a couple of hours, maybe even a day or two. So the searches were conducted, nothing happened, nothing was found. That's the reason I believe that Nicola wasn't in the water. I personally believe Nicola wasn't in the water before even Peter Folding came in. Because Peter Folding was there for 7, 8 days or 5 days, he would have definitely found Nicola. Today, I want to analyze or try to analyze a very important interview. I tried doing Paul's interview. You'll have seen it. And give me your feedback what you think about it, because I've had a cold. I've been trying to sit patiently and waiting for some red flag to come up. The sad thing is, to start with, this is for entertainment purpose only. So don't come for me, guys. And I'm just like you all. I'm trying to figure out what happened to Nicola Bulley. To start with, as a cognitive behavior therapist, the red flags that I see is from Nicola's friends. I mean, at least 4 to 5 friends. Plus from the partner, obviously. Besides the parents, I haven't seen anyone showing empathy, shedding a tear, or anything like that. Then it makes me wonder, how many friends did Nicola have? How many real friends did Nicola have? Maybe she thought that they were friends and maybe they weren't. Because if friends know that you're having, example, allegedly, an alcohol issue or menopause issue, women try to actually talk to each other. We do that. We tell each other to slow down. We tell each other about the experience we've had, whether it's in menopause, whether it's different kind of things, especially things like medical things like maybe thyroids, diabetes, such things. Women are good in sharing. We like to learn a lot. So do men. But women, that's our part, the way God made us. We love to sit and exchange ideas and all. So I find it kind of concerning that if Nicola had alcohol issues, I wouldn't believe law enforcement have anything to lie about. But what makes it hard for me to believe personally is that you always look at where you get your sources from. And today I heard a YouTube channel, I'd like to point out names, who said she came later on into this case. She was just talking a couple of hours ago. She said, I came later on into this case. She said, I got a lot of my information from Eddie, and which Eddie is really good, I believe. And she said, but me and him have different ideas, so I'm going to talk about my ideas, which is brilliant. But there was some couple of things that she said that, as a mental health counselor, as a licensed mental health counselor, that I kind of found really wrong. She put up a Facebook of Nicola Bulley, of a friend of Nicola Bulley, talking about Nicola, asking her to come home to her, that she has a room ready for her and she knows where to come and all that. That is okay. But there was another text she read that somebody wrote that if, like, basically that Nicola must have approached to get help. And the woman said, her friend said, yeah, if the therapist isn't helping you, kind of, if you have a mental health illness and if the mental health counselor ain't helping you, then she needs mental health herself. I found that really offensive because, first of all, it's important where you get your resources from. Facebook is not a place you go for resources. Twitter is absolutely not the place you go for resources. Instagram and all these places not where you go for resources. Some things are helpful there, but you can't go for social media to get the right facts. The right facts lie within Lancashire Police. We need to go to their website just like we were doing in Tennessee, the case of Summer Moon YouTubers. I found it offensive because I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I always say that because I take pride in my work. I take pride in what I do. I went to university for 4 years because I love mental health, because I want to help mental health patients. And I do always, whether it's family or friends, they call me private. And with confidentiality, we discuss about things. We find patterns in CBT, what can be helpful, whether the suffering of anxiety, depression, couples counseling, because that is a branch I took. In college, in university, I remember the last semester, we had to choose one and of two things. It was either child psychology for the whole year or it was couples counseling. I remember most of my friends took child psychology and they regretted because it takes a lot of your time, especially when you're doing other modules in mental health counseling. Child psychology, we are mental health counselors, but psychology obviously comes in mental health. So I preferred taking couples counseling, which I did completely, and I got it with good grades, but I love taking couples counseling because that belongs to therapy. Mental health counselors do therapy. We are the therapists. Psychologists do kind of evaluations or they sit and do assessments. We all have different branches, but we all have the brotherhood of mental health. I respect people like Dr. Grundy, Todd Gundry, shout out to him, and many other psychiatrists, professional psychiatrists that I watch a couple of their channels. So coming back to what I found offensive with that text is to start with, it's important where we get our sources from. Facebook is not where you go for sources. Number two, that text, whether it was on Facebook or not, should not be put on YouTube because Nicola Bulley has a mother, father, sister, daughters, most importantly, and definitely some loyal friends. She has a community, I'm sure, that love her because they were standing out in the cold on the streets and putting up a poster. Let's not forget that because seeing is believing too. So what I'm trying to say is to put out a text like that on public TV, I wouldn't have done that, and I expect anyone who knows a bit about mental health would understand me. Because that was a very deep text. It said something about not only the therapist, it was talking about Nicola's mental health. Now, I wanted to address that about what the person said on the YouTube platform. Us as mental health counselors, it's important that you know, do not just look at it from the standpoint of the patient. We always consider the patient. We call them clients, number one. The patient is always right. We try to work with them because we don't know what's going in their head, inside their head. But we have the skills of what could be most likely going on. So, as mental health counselors, it is a big branch. There are good mental health counselors and there are bad mental health counselors in the world. There are good psychologists, there are bad psychologists, and psychiatrists who are bosses, they could be good and bad. Just like law enforcement, you'll get good, bad detectives. You get detectives that put their heart and soul into a case, and you get detectives that just wrap up the case for whatever reason. So as a mental health counselor, to give up the person, without mentioning their name, a bit advice, which is important. What you don't understand is, I know you didn't write the text, but you decided to show the text. So when the text says that if the mental health counselor that Nicola allegedly went to wouldn't take her in, then the mental health counselor needs therapy. Now, how do you know if the mental health counselor maybe refused therapy because she had enough in her plate? How do you know that maybe Nicola and the mental health counselor could have had a disagreement? We are human beings. Maybe Nicola didn't like her style of working, or maybe the therapist didn't like the style of maybe Nicola coming in whatever time she feels like. Or example, it's just a good example. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have mental health background, you would have understood that it goes two ways. A relationship between a therapist and their client is really confidentiality. So the woman who wrote it on Facebook should have shame on herself. I'm being honest. And the person who put it up on YouTube should think twice, because maybe you're not aware of mental health. Mental health is a branch of serious confidentiality, just like doctors, especially sometimes more, because we are dealing with people's emotions and thoughts. So for somebody to bring out things that have been said about Nicola and a therapist, I believe is just hurtful, traumatizing to the family. We don't do such things. We are here to spread awareness, because what we want to do is we want to get justice for Nicola Bulley. But we don't want to be the ones who give Nicola's daughters PTSD, or the mother or father. And you can go back to all my clips and check. There's not one clip I've spoken about the parents. Because honestly, as a cognitive behavior therapist, when I look at all that is going on in this case, today I'm going to be frank. Start again for entertainment purpose only. After I see all that has been going on in the case, I've been taking my time, besides this last 4 or 5 days that I've been down with the flu. I've been taking my time to study each and every person who talks or opens their mouth. And I can just see red flags coming out of many people's mouths. Completely red flags. To start with, Emma White, Louise, Nicola's sister, and Paul. And I believe, Jill Packer, 4. And I believe there's somebody else that I'm missing, but I'll come back to that. Please go back to all of the interviews they ever made and compare their interviews together, and you will be shocked. They all are talking about the same script, saying that they feel like it's a roller coaster. They said, the other thing that they said is, people don't vanish through thin air. Something must have happened, just like Paul said, Louis said. And Paul admitted in the interview that he and the family speak a lot. Obviously, that's his son-in-law, the father of Nicola's daughters. But he said that, I don't know how to explain it. Basically, let me come back again. Paul said that he speaks regularly to the family. And he said, we are just like, we are surprised and we don't know much about the case, and like the search is going round and round. And then he says that me and the family, and then later on he says, me and Luis. You can go back and listen to it. Me and Luis talk about it all the time. Now my question is, I know that's his sister-in-law, but since you'll talk about it all the time, is that how you'll got the same timeline? Because now that is scary. When people start speaking the same script and doing it so perfectly, then I personally believe something is not right. Something happened. Find out what it is. Find out where all these people are talking like they're reading from a script. I personally would say the script, if there's a script there, it belongs to Paul. Emma's following it, then the others are following it. I don't know what's going. Same words. Roller coaster ride. People don't vanish through thin air. Just watch the interviews and you will understand. Because I can't play them now. It's a bit early of a year and I need to go. I need to get out. I have things to do. So basically, I'm just going to talk a bit today since I put out so much clips. And I know most of you all hopefully can understand my English and you can find the clips. It's all in my channel. There's a whole playlist of the clips in my channel. Notice I said Jill Packer, Emma White, Louise, that's Nicola's sister, and Paul. And I forget her name, the blonde woman who always hangs around with Emma in the interviews. They all have the same script. Another red flag that I found that hasn't been sitting right with me is if Nicola wasn't found for whatever reason and her dog and the dog's harness is lying there and the mobile phone. What would you do? Everyone, I guess, would have called 999 in UK, 911 in America. Different countries have different emergency codes. Isn't that the first thing you would do? Because you can see there's a riverbank there. You would have waited a couple of minutes to check if Nicola's gone to the loo. And when you find out that Nicola isn't anywhere to seen within 2-3 minutes, dial 911. Why did they wait so long? That is the first red flag. Then on top of that, they decided to call Paul first, not 999, mind you. Because was it a part of the skip so that he could come crying? Allegedly, maybe. And I'm not accusing anyone, but now it seems like I'll get there later, sorry. So coming back to it, nobody called 999 because they decided to waste time so that the timeline can be more ridiculous. So the timeline can disappear and they can make their own timeline as they please. Because let's not forget, we've been doing true crime, at least I've been doing it for 2 years now, and I've been a viewer on many channels and mods and such things. So what I'm trying to say is we've learned one thing, timeline. If your timeline is not on point, then that's a full red flag. So what I believe over here is, I don't want to disappoint many people by saying this, but we can always agree to disagree in a respectful way. I believe the CCTV camera was Nicola. And I will show you why soon. To start with, if it was Emma or somebody else allegedly, just say example, or maybe Jill Packer, because I'm starting to think if it wasn't Emma, I believe it could have been Jill Packer. She has the same hair color, she has the same weight, she has almost the same height as Nicola, and she's Nicola's best friend. And she seems a bit worried in that interview. So that allegedly, this is for entertainment purpose only. But I still stand by, it was Nicola in the CCTV footage. Because let's not forget, Lancashire police have made mistakes, and I admit that. But Lancashire police had made mistakes because that was the timeline, the lies that they were fed with. So this has to do with the first sergeant who had the case, I believe Sally. Sally could have done more. Sally should have called more experts in, especially detectives, because let's not forget, I'm not going to boast about UK But we all know, and if you haven't heard of the Scotland Yard, they're best in what they do. They're located in UK. There's hardly any cases they leave unsolved in the whole world. So just because mistakes are happening in Lancashire, that shouldn't put a bad spot to Scotland Yard, because they solved many cases, big cases. And if they came in, I think it would have been dealt much different. Because I'll give you an example. When you have the Scotland Yard who's solving all the cases in different places, and especially in London, with millions and millions living here, if they managed to solve most of the cases, they could have gone to Lancashire, given them support, and found out exactly what it is. Lancashire police shouldn't have said from the start that there's one hypophosis. Emma is angry and saying that they shouldn't say hypophosis. Emma, if you're watching, Emma White, that is the way police deal with hypophosises, unless you're hiding something and you don't want them to dig into. That is what they do. But the hypothesis and theories that they were coming with, Lancashire police should have at least come with 3, 4. Like she could have been possibly abducted, because there is no camera between Garston Road and coming into the River Tower. The River Tower part is a very, very key, a very important key to this whole puzzle. I hate to use that word, but it is a puzzle right now. Now a new update has come. I think her name is Maria Soris. Please accept my apology, because I thought when I put up that clip, I thought it belonged to Lancashire, because it was written Lancashire Police. So I don't know, I believe I put up the right one, but if I put up yours, thank you for helping us and bringing such important evidence, because it just makes us understand with more voices, with more humanity, empathy, and awareness, that we can get justice for Nicola Bulley and the family. When it comes to the friends, I don't expect everyone to cry. They're pals, they're friends, and you have really good friends that you grew up with, that you love and adore, and they know you. I expect those friends to cry, and especially the women. I don't see any empathy. Okay, if they were in shock, which yes, a person could be in shock for a couple of weeks because it's too much for the brain to handle. Sorry, guys. It's too much for the brain to handle. So there are ways that usually people start breaking down and start crying. I don't mean necessarily in public, at home. Maybe that's just how the character is in Lancashire. But I expected at one time one of the friends would at least cry on public TV, because emotions are running high. Nicola wasn't found, and that was the concern I had. That's the reason I started taking this case more serious and trying to find out where the fault lies. Now, coming back to Maria's clip. Thank you, Maria. Please like, share, and subscribe to her. She has a channel too. Maria recorded, like you all know, on the 4th of April, that law enforcement and divers and special detectives came to the scene, and they were trying to float in the river backways and all. What's it called? Backstroke, yeah. Oh, yeah, trying to float with obviously your body and your back lying. I believe they wanted to see if the body can get stuck there. They wanted to check how shallow the water was from there. And that makes me think about one thing. It's either two things, actually. It's either We don't know the autopsy results, but the police know it. They knew it from the first week or the first 2 days when this case took place. So maybe the, I found it fishy and a red flag when we were giving the timeline that we will find out more about this case on, I believe, the 26th of June, the same day Brian Koberger is going to court. What an interesting day. I believe just maybe, this was done on purpose so that we wouldn't be too focused when we get the results. I won't be surprised if the results come out that Nicola fell and died in the river, although it wouldn't make sense because it's too shallow. It's too shallow, and you can see half of the river. You can see the police standing inside the river. So what I'm trying to say is, if you look at it this way, the rear of the river faces the river Tor. So I'm starting to wonder, did somebody see something? Let's not forget, Detective Rebecca, I believe, said that this is my hypothesis for now, but it doesn't mean it won't change. That means if they get new updates, it will change. So one possibility is that a witness call who was not paying attention to the case and maybe was cycling or had his motorcycle, and then he realized, oh, I did pass that day, and he must have given everything he had to the police. Sorry. So this is one of my thinking. The second one is it could be possible that law enforcement were asked to go and try to do a reconstruction, because I was a translator and interpreter for in Somali, Arabic, Indian, Swahili, at least 4 languages. And I was working for the police in Norway for many years. I remember translating for serious cases without naming. You can imagine the most serious cases. And even then, they used to go on hypothesis. So all of the police do that, actually, I believe. And the River Tor is the only place that doesn't have a camera. That's Garston Road. So did they get something that was new of evidence? Did someone talk and say, I saw so and so there? Or could it just be possible, like I said, when I used to work for the police as a translator, what we used to do is we had to go back to the crime scene and do a reconstruction of the crime scene itself. And I believe that is what they're doing. But at the same time, I believe they were doing that to check if a body could get stuck in that area and stay there for long. They want to know why it took 23 days for Nicola to be found in the river, or why did it take so long? And on the 23rd day, Nicola was not only found in the river, she was found in a river, the side where it's accessible for cars and they can do anything. So this is really sad, heartbreaking. And if it comes to evidence, I've heard many people saying that evidence is already destroyed. No. Police were on the scene immediately. So whatever they found, like the mobile, the dog's harness, and other things, they may know a lot than we know. They're getting tips every day. They're analyzing people. And that's the reason I believe it is till June, so that they can check if it was really Nicola or if it wasn't, who could have been there, what are the possibilities. And I wanted to correct many people that say that Nicola Bulley did not deliver children to school. I believe she did, because in every car park there's a camera. So Nicola would have been seen parking the car, talking to the other parents, like Detective Rebecca said. Even if it was Emma or somebody else acting like Nicola, that's a long fetch, I believe. But something is not right because we were surprised with the previous footage. And then we had a footage from Grizzly Crime saying that forget that clip. And now we have a new footage, and I got it from Paul's friend. Why is Paul changing the narrative? Why is Paul so interested in what people are saying about him on social media? Isn't he supposed to be taking time to take his daughters to counseling? That is the reason I believe something happened, and it happened on the River Tor. I've always said that, and my instinct says that because around those areas there wasn't one single camera. 27th January was a very dark day. It was winter, obviously, so the sun doesn't come up. So if Nicola went there by 8:53, she must have been cold. It must be kind of wettish. But I don't understand why would Nicola slip in the water. Nicola's a good swimmer. Nicola knows the water and the danger of the water. Even if she slipped, she would have been found down. She would have sunk down. So I don't understand. And why are these people not showing emotions? Besides the father, mother. We are told not to speculate, but we want justice for Nicola. We don't want this case to be just wrapped up and said it's an accident, which it isn't. I'm not saying anyone did it, but I agree with Paul that they need to scrutinize the land, the outer buildings, and everywhere. But law enforcement said that they did it. So I wanted actually to play the part where the officer says, Rebecca, she says clearly that she got the vulnerable information of Nicola having alcohol issues and that Nicola was having menopause issues. That is a typical, I won't say anything. That's a selfish thing to do if it was untrue. And true, knowing other people's experience, many of people feel that way. I expected to see more emotions from Paul. The first interview, he looks like he's blatantly giggling. He has that audacity. For whatever reason he's giggling, many people will say, oh, it's anxiety and he was anxious. I don't believe that. I don't buy that. But that's my opinion. The timeline of Nicola Bulley has been very confusing. It has been changed so many times that soon we won't have a timeline to go. I'm being honest. It's just sad that a mother of two who's quite athletic went for a walk and never came back. This whole case of Nicola Bulley is starting to really kind of upset me because I believe at the start they should have maybe handled it better. I mean, by not putting about her vulnerabilities. But like I said again, and I repeat it, the more I work in this case and I do proper research, the more I understand where the police is coming from. And if it is known that there was somebody doing foul play, it wouldn't be the police's fault because they were filled with lies and they went and they saw all the CCTV cameras in the gas station and places like that. I hope law enforcement finds the truth about who is who, what they've been doing, and what was Nicola's life like maybe 6 months ago to downwards. I believe the answer lies there. Yes, I believe Nicola could have been having uh, episodes of menopause and such things. Millions of women have that. But I don't think it'll get her in a stage to turn mad and crazy unless she's unique. Unique, I mean different from other women. Menopause is not a sickness. Menopause is a circle of life. Let's not forget. It's not a sickness, but at times it can feel like it's a sickness with all the hot sweats, with all the anxiety, insomnia, lack of concentration, many things. Nicola Bully was never in the river. I don't care what. Sorry, I'll rephrase that. Nicola wasn't in the river. I agree with Paul there. And with Charlotte, one of the friends and the neighbors of Paul and Nicola. The woman is pregnant. And she's so blessed with being so high pregnant, she was keeping on coming and putting flowers and doing good things. The thing is, the empathy is really, really concerning with most of the people in this case. Absolutely concerning. And I'm just sad that all this, sorry. Come on, Sammy. You just wanted to sit down. I'm just disappointed that the bench wasn't made a crime scene. It should have been done urgently, no matter what. Lancashire police should have said from the start there are a couple of hypotheses and they shouldn't have just elaborated on one. Anything could happen. You have abduction, that could be possible. Nicola could have unlived herself, trigger warning. That could have been possible because the river is big. Sorry, guys. So Nicola could have unlived herself. That is a possibility, but that didn't happen. The reason I say it did not happen is because I agree with Peter Folding. And I agree with the divers who worked 6-7 days before Peter Folding came in. Did y'all know actually that they were working day and night in the river? So Nicola would have been found. At times, this is just my opinion, I believe when Paul says she's not, he said that, let me remember how exactly he said it. He said, something happened, someone knows something, find out what it is. Find out what it is. He said, she's not, he said, for me, I'm sure. They said, for me, I personally would say 100% that she ain't in the river. That's not it, he said. So Paul, I personally believe, wanted law and enforcement to clear off the rivers so that he could come and put Nicola back in the water. There you go, I said it. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But I'm not saying Paul only could have done it, he could have got someone to do it. I want to know all the people who were, I want to know of all the people who were the witnesses that day. Because I believe the witnesses who were walking in the field were very dodgy and fishy themselves, especially the women in the red jacket. Strangely enough, I'm going to put it on my thumbnail and you'll see that woman with the white dog and the red coat. You see her later on, 8-9 days later, that she's walking near the police officers and they're talking to themselves and she's just looking weirdly at them. So I don't know if she was sent to find out more information about what the police's next move was. Another thing that I found really interesting is when Paul said in the interview that the police told him to go directly home and that they will be there soon. And he said, as soon as I went there, they were already waiting for me. I know it's part of protocol to speak to the husband, but he must have given them some alibi or some storyline that law enforcement believed him. And I'm sure law enforcement would be doing what they can, and they're still gathering evidence to get justice for Nicola Bulley. I really believe that. In the UK, Great Britain, we really try to seek for justice, and not only that, I can't complain about the police, especially in London, whether the Metropolitan or whether the Scotland Yard, which are more serious detectives. None of them, I believe, would have left a case that they know something like that happened. They would have sent the best of their best. And I personally believe, this is for entertainment purpose only, I'm not sure, but I believe, yes, and I've heard Lancashire Police was offered. They could have called in hired detectives who've worked on 100 cases. And you can hear other professionals saying even themselves, there should have been 5 to 7 hyperforces. The bench people were sitting and taking pictures for their TikToks and for their social media. People these days really have an empty soul. I hate to say that. Because here you have a mother who's missing, her 2 children, her parents, her sister, her loved ones are waiting for her. This case is like, I used to have this baby sign on my channel, and it's a small baby holding his cheek like that. And he's got beautiful, gorgeous eyes. It's a black and white picture, and it's written on the poster. The more I think, the more I get confused. This is what is happening with the case. And let's not misunderstand. Whoever's behind it did it deliberately, like gave different timelines. It started from 9:15, then it went to 9:20, then it went to 9:35, then it went to 10. Once the timeline is messed up, everything automatically gets messed up. As for the witness, the woman with the red coat needs to be thoroughly investigated, I would say. Then you have the tall guy who looks like a giant. No, really tall. He does look like. And he's walking around, you can see, with something he's carrying in his hand. I don't want to say it's a weapon, but it does look like a sharp weapon, and it's just scary. Just check that picture and you'll see what I'm saying. That old man, let's not forget, he refused to come and give his statement. He sent his wife to do it for him. So why didn't he do it? Could it be possible that he was busy doing something naughty, like getting rid of someone, allegedly, and he had to go home and scrub himself and have a bath? Everything is possible. I hate to say that. You can imagine it was cold, dark. Nicola was at work, so she was in full concentration. And for all the people who are discussing about Nicola's mental health, I haven't met Nicola and I haven't met Paul, so I can't answer that. But what I can try, what I see from pictures can be deceiving at times, but not all the time. Every picture of you see of Nicola Bulley, she's smiling, she's happy, she's driving her children to school or doing something. Paul, on the other hand, is the one that I have a hard time listening to his interviews. Because all I see, this is my personal opinion, all I see is somebody who looks nervous, full of anxiety. Obviously, you'll have anxiety and nervousness and insomnia and everything when your loved one is missing. But it's more than that. It seems like Paul is very keen on not getting caught if he was involved. And the reason I say that is because Paul Paul doesn't care. So why would he go and search for Nicola? Because I was always wondering, what is it? What is it with Paul? Because Paul could have gone search for his wife during the daytime while the children are in school, then picked them up, gone home, called it a night, and then started the same thing again till you find Nicola. So you see, Paul disappeared after the press conference, after he gave the vulnerable information. And I heard another YouTube creator talking about it today, about the timelines and about such things. And a lot of it was interesting, but there were some things that wasn't in the facts and in the law enforcement's conference meetings and the website. I wonder if Nicola got herself into argument about the dogs, about her dog and maybe other people's dogs. They could have been arguing near the river bench and she could have fallen out, not from the side of the bench but the other side. But I still find that difficult to believe. I've heard many of my people in the comment channels and many people saying that Nicola, God bless her soul, wasn't alive since Thursday, the night before she disappeared. That is very possible, but I find that hard to believe. Only one thing. Law enforcement do their homework. The first place they will go is they'll go to the school, check on the girls, talk to girls and ask them, when did you last see mommy? Oh, we saw this morning when she was going to drive us to school. Or they'll turn around and say, no, we haven't seen mommy since last night. We were at granddad and grandmom's home, and daddy said she's missing. There's many things that has to be asked, and there's many things that has to be done before anyone comes to the speculation of that Lancashire law enforcement ain't doing their job. I believe they are doing their job, but they're just trying to sift away and find out what is legit, what is reasonable, what is possible, what is probable in this case. And they have to go according to the facts. They can't go according to how we want them to work. They're working for the case of Nick bullying. So I wanted to end by saying, let's watch this interview a bit. Because now that it's been 2 months, and when I listened to, is she a sergeant or detective Rebecca Smith, I believe, that is the time I understand that this is more like what she was told. This is what the village of St. Michael's on the Wye told her, and told Sally, Sergeant Sally. And I believe that was where the mistake went. That's why Rebecca did a press conference. She tried to explain, but that is what happens with us human beings. Even in psychology, we learn that. Once we trust someone or we trust the police, just say example, to fill us in with the truth, and we feel like they're holding back truth, next time when they come with the truth, it's going to be like the boy who cried wolf. We're going to say, no, hold on. Last time you told us that we were speculating and this and that, and now you're telling us to do that. That's typically how a brain works. And I don't think there's anything wrong in trying to get justice for Nicola as long as we keep it humble. But certain of the clips that I put up, I'm sure many people can ask me, why are you putting up these clips? And Those people are not involved. I'm not saying they're involved, but I'm saying everybody should be a person of interest. Because none of them, another thing that is a big red flag, none of these people are looking at the camera when they talk. There's no eye contact. They all are looking at the floor instead of looking at the camera. They're sometimes looking sideways, but they're not looking at the camera. And I personally believe when people do not look at you straight, as a therapist, I know that, mental health counselor, if people don't look at you straight, you're not connected with them. So it's just like, read my thoughts. I hope it's not too late. I'm happy that the law enforcement have come back, and I don't believe they just came back. Like I said, I believe they got new updates. Maybe a motorcyclist or a cyclist who went on a holiday after that or was in London came back and said, oh yeah, I did actually see a woman with a dog and it was Nicola. I've seen her before a couple of times, something like that. Or it could be, like I said, the coroner's office asked the police to go get water samples to see if her body was all the time in the river. They have to check her lungs and see she was all the time in the river and she had water in her lungs. It is so sad. It is heartbreaking. This destroys many people's life. Nicola Bulley deserved the best. Nobody is entitled to take someone's life. Nobody's entitled to touch someone. So I feel really sorry for what that poor woman has gone through. I hope they can heal, and later on in life, that before they become really, like before under 15 or 18, there should be that frank talk. The older they get, that social media is a place to stay away from, because not everyone is kind there. And everyone will go with speculations when we're not getting answers, and that is hurtful for the little girls. So guys, I wanted to end by showing you all this, because there's a lot of good information here. Sorry. Just hold on 1 second, guys. Or you know what actually I'll do? I'll put it up on my YouTube, because then it'll be more clear. What I can do is actually just put up the volume, maybe. If you give me a second. Sorry about that.
From members of Nicola's family, the public, CCTV, dashcam and other digital devices, to name just a few. We're also continuing to regularly consult with national experts from the National Crime Agency, the NCA, and they continue to support us and provide both tactical and strategic advice for the case. I will now hand over to Becky, who will talk through in some more detail the investigation she's been leading from that senior investigating officer role. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to firstly take you through the incidents that led up to Nicola being reported timeline, followed by a number of topic areas that I've asked to you. Also going on to a couple of areas that have been highlighted in the press, which I want to explain in detail. So first of all, Nicola Bulley was reported missing on Friday the 27th of January after dropping her children at St Michael's School in St Michael's. As soon as she was reported missing, following the information that was provided to the police by her partner Paul, and based on a number of specific vulnerabilities that we were made aware of, Nicola was graded as high risk. That is normal in a missing person from investigation with the information we were in possession of.
I'll stop there for a second, guys. It's really important. One of the most important skills in mental health counseling is active listening. Many people I've heard on YouTube saying that it was the police who let out the information. Yes, it was the police who let it out. But you can clearly hear the detective Rebecca saying it was Paul who gave us that information. I'm sure they didn't even ask for that permission, ask for those information at the start, but maybe when he saw things were starting to get more real, he decided to put Nicola's reputation down. God rest her soul. I don't know if Nicola Bulley had alcohol issues. I don't know if Nicola Bulley had mental health illness. I don't know if Nicola Bulley had menopausal issues, because that is up to her family, her, God rest her soul, and God and other people to know than us. But I really can't understand if Nicola Bulley was an alcoholic and she had alcohol addictions, why was Paul letting her drive the daughters to the school? That is a very important question. The person's having mental health issues. They could have a crisis. They could have any episodes or anything, any crisis. So why mention it? Law enforcement, another thing, did have the information about Nicola having a mental health breakdown. And that was 10 days before she went missing. So what is the connection, I wonder? It's really sad that when everybody seems to be reading out from a script or memorizing a script, like Paul, Louise, Jill Packer, Emma, and the other woman in rooms with Emma, when they all seem to be following one script, red flag should be up. So many man-hours has gone into this river, so many resources has gone into the river, so I know they exhausted the search, and there was no trace of Nicola Bulley. So where was Nicola Bulley put? It had to be somewhere with water, maybe? I don't know. But this whole this whole case has a lot of up and downs. So just let's remember it was Paul who gave that information to the law enforcement for whatever reason.
She was immediately treated as a MISPA, and then on the Monday, the 30th of January, I was identified as the senior investigating officer. At that time, we reviewed all the information that had been gathered in the days prior to her being reported. And as any senior investigating officer does, you form a number of hypotheses, that is, scenarios which are possible from the information to hand. Those hypotheses included the one that she possibly could have gone into the river, that there could have been third-party involvement, and lastly, that she could have left the area voluntarily. Those hypotheses have remained in place throughout, are reviewed regularly, as is normal with any SIO running a major investigation. At the initial stages, based on the information I received, I made it clear that it was my working hypothesis at that time, based with all the facts, that the main hypothesis I was working on at that time was that Nicola had gone in the river. This has been misconstrued in the press and said that that was what I said. I said that was my main working hypothesis at that time, and that remains my main working hypothesis. I think it's clear to see that the amount of effort, hours worked, resources that we have put into this investigation, that we have always been open-minded. Those three hypotheses and scenarios have been continually reviewed and continue to do so to this day. But as Mr. Dawson has said, at the minute, With the information that we have received and reviewed, there is not a single piece of information or evidence to suggest that there is any third-party involvement in this investigation. And that continues and will continue to do so until we have reviewed all the information received.
This is the part I find really wrong. It's not the officer and it's not what she said. It is about decision making. That's why Lancashire police have reported themselves to the police watchdogs. Just because Paul told law enforcement that Nicola, who's not around, that he knows is probably passed away, he decides sorry. There's a phone call coming, so I'm really sorry. I'm just trying to ignore it. I'll just have to wait for it. I forgot to put my phone on flight mode. So there's someone who seems to be keeping on calling. And I'm scared, like, when you put the decline signal, the whole clip will go off. And I don't want to be sitting and re-recording it again. Thank God they put it off. And I hope they do not call until I'm done with this, because I'm soon done. To wrap it all up, I don't blame Rebecca Smith or Sergeant, what was her name, Sally, from the beginning, because those were the timelines they were given. Most of the CCTV cameras was not working. So it's sad that maybe somebody knew or somebody tampered with the CCTV camera. I think it's difficult to tamper with it unless it's in a low place. I don't know how they do it outside London, but in big cities, CCTV cameras are usually on light poles, the high light poles. You wouldn't even see it. It won't even flash you, but you'll get it. You get the penalty at your door. So to wrap it up and come back to this story, things I want to debunk, or not debunk, that is important for people to understand. It wasn't Nicola's parents who gave up Nicola's information, whether it's false or true. It was Paul. So my question is, Paul, what is your motive? Why are you making the partner of your life, even if she's struggling to menopause issue and she could have been having 1 or 2 drinks? What gives you the right to come? And not only is Nicola gone, it's a sad thing, now you're just ruining her good name. So you shouldn't have given out that information, and that was really, really sad, because that shows about trust, and when people don't trust the police, there's more nonsense happens. I hope they find justice for Nicola Bulley. And since law enforcement came back to that place on the 4th of April, I believe they were doing a reconstruction of the crime scene, or either they came to do furthermore investigations. What is sad is Paul did 2 interviews. The second one in Channel 5 was really long. And in that interviews, I could hardly hear him mentioning, what's her name? I could hardly hear him mentioning Nicola. All he does, is mention the children. Notice. That's the time you start asking yourself, were they having problems? Did this lead to unfortunate domestic violence that got bad and that they did this? There are so many hypotheses. Paul could be totally innocent, and Emma and all of them could be innocent, and maybe it could be someone from work. It could be someone she met on Facebook or something. You would never know. Or maybe there's a serial killer roaming in Lancashire, because we keep on hearing about bodies dropping in water, which doesn't make sense. Anyway, guys, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Another thing that is a red flag, again, I must mention, is that Paul is working with Grizzly True Crime. And if Paul ends up being a criminal and he gets arrested, I don't think law enforcement is going to take it easy with Grizzly. Grizzly is getting like those people without mentioning names who were going to Tennessee pretending to search for summer. Gisela K is doing the same thing, but she is promoting misinformation. She said, also, the keys were found in the pocket. How did she know? Did she put it in the pocket? How often do you talk to Paul Gisela? Gisela K. I think she's just, some people would do anything to get more likes and views that they don't care who they cross over. And thank God, I'm not even interested in my channel blowing, because the reason I started this channel was to talk a bit about anxiety, depression, PTSD, schizophrenia, bipolar, as much as I can, symptoms to avoid, things to do, kind of like a diet for your brain. So I think by next week, when this case calms down, I really want to go into the case of, what's his name? Aiden Fucci. Although he got 25 years or something, he still hasn't got the death sentence, God forbid. But what he did to Tristan Bailey was just evil. He stabbed her, trigger warning 99 times. So I want to touch a bit on that case too. Because now he's acting like he's hearing voices and he's talking to himself. So it's a bit about mental health and about crime. And the case of Lori Vallow is starting on Monday. The jury has been picked, and apparently it was said that in the court. I have it on the clip is downstairs, basically, in my channel. It's the first couple of clips. You'll see it. Anyway, guys, it's just I'm focusing on so many things. I have a cold, then I have to take my cat to the vet, and I have a couple of things to do today, and I need to go visit my mother too. Maybe she'll help me to get rid of the flu. It's not flu, it's just like when the weather is changing and you get sore throat and your nose is stuffed and all that. But hopefully it should go away. And then I have the pollen allergic too. I know you're not interested in hearing my things. This is about Nicola. Only about Nicola and justice for Nicola. Her children deserve that. We deserve a peace of mind so that we can move on to Summer Wells' case or other missing cases. And I hope that the autopsy shows different and that people start getting arrested. I personally believe that is a very good chance of happening. Because I think Paul did not expect this case to blow up, but it blew up badly in him, in front of his face. He didn't expect millions and millions of people to be watching and TikTokers traveling to go to him. But he's the least one. Paul is the one who's least concerned. No tears. He talks from his eyes. He starts giggling. So, guys, have a happy Easter. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy with your family. Look after your parents. Look after your family. And, yeah, I wish you a happy Easter. And as a Muslim, I wish all my Muslims in the world Ramadan Kareem. That's the month of fasting. And Easter, they both came in the same month. So it's blessed. I hope everyone is taking care of their mental health. do exercises, meditate. Don't be depressed. Draw your curtains, get in some light, get motivated to go out because it's getting summer soon. And if you've already been diagnosed with bipolar, schizophrenia, any other mental illness, and you're on medications, it is good that you know yourself best. When the psychiatrist gives you the diagnosis, you can do your own therapy. There's so much things these days that you can learn from articles and all, but obviously the skills and all you have to go for years. But then reading and studying, especially about CBT, how it puts the anxiety down, is really good, and it is effective. But if a person ignores it and the anxiety starts building up, it can be other underlying conditions will definitely happen. Anyway, guys, I leave it there. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a lovely Easter. Bye.